If you're going to spoil a movie, be sure to warn the people that are there. If you're going to spoil a movie, just please make sure nobody's there who cares. The following podcast contains spoilers for The Last Black Man in San Francisco. You have been warned.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. This is your host, Benjamin Button, along with your host, whichever way you are, Miguel Magusto.
That's me, myself, and I.
You almost said it. I heard it.
Yes.
It's me, Mario.
How you doing, Glenn?
I am not too shabby.
Yes.
This week was long, and it was vigorous for me. I did a whole lot of... Yeah. A whole lot of just playing video games at my desk. It was disgusting, and I took 3 showers because I felt gross. Encrusted
3 showers within a week?
No, within a weekend.
Within a weekend, okay.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I felt like a crusty boy on this little chair of mine.
I mean, that's just a normal... I shower every day, so 3 times in 3 days is normal for me.
Very, very interesting. I usually do every other day.
Yeah.
I don't sweat that much.
Well, you're a skinny person. Skinny people have that luxury. Us bigger people don't, unfortunately.
It's a luxury that I live with every day. Just being able to skip a shower.
Yes, but in between those showers, Glenn, did you watch any movies?
Look into my eyes now that you finally can. Look deep. Look strong. I have watched 2.5 movies, 2 of which were assigned as per usual.
Oh.
And the half was just I kind of want to watch a movie. Oh, man, it's way too late. I should probably get some sleep. That's how it went down. So to go down the little list of what we saw, we both saw Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
Yes.
You'll have to go onto our YouTube to find out what that's all about and how our thoughts all about it.
We were attacked in the middle of that review.
We were. It was kind of disgusting, but
terrifying.
I made a little hilarious edit that you should go watch. Just regardless. Even if you just want to watch that part, that's fine. And then I had started to watch last night a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. And I was kind of interested in the plot itself, but the movie was quite interesting the way it was executing it. The movie is called End of Days. It came out in 1999.
I've heard of that.
It's interesting so far, but I'll get back to that when I finish it. Yeah. And then, of course, I watched The Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Yes.
But Mike, I know you got some stuff. I know you got some things.
Yes, I do. I watched 6 movies. That seems to be the average now.
It seems to be your average. Yeah, 5 or 6.
5 or 6. Before I went to the place that shall not be named because I promised I would no longer name it, I was watching at least 8 a week, and now it's down to 6, which is fine,
Yeah, you're getting your footing again.
Yes. So the first movie I watched was Kung Fu Panda. Rewatch for me. I was listening to that podcast that I showed you, Films to Be Buried With, and someone was talking about that and how 3 was the best one out of the 3. And I haven't seen 3, but I also don't remember 1 and 2.
Which one was the villain in 3?
I don't remember. I haven't seen it. But
Touché.
Shifu, I think his name is. Ian McShane is the villain in 1.
Yeah.
I know I've seen 2, but I don't remember it. And so I watched this. I'm going to watch 2 probably sometime this week, and then eventually watch 3. But yeah, I love Kung Fu Panda. It's a great movie. Once my boy, my baby child, once he's passed his Cars kick, maybe I'll show that to him. But he will not watch anything other than Cars 1, 2, or 3 right now. It's ridiculous.
It's how my nephew was. Anytime he saw wheels, he's glued to the television or whatever is circle shaped.
Yeah. So then I watched Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. As you said, we were a review for that in which we were attacked. We were victimized by an insect of some kind. You'll just have to see.
A little winged fella, as they say.
Yes, so you should check that out on the YouTube. Then I watched an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, much like you. But this one was from 1987 called The Running Man. It's a film that I've been meaning to watch for a long time. I heard it's actually pretty decent, even for like a cheesy action 80s movie.
Yeah.
And it was. It was, it's got, politics in it that are interesting with the dystopian future. It's a little bit like that. This came first, so Gerard Butler's Gamer is more like this, but essentially, like everyone watches to see criminals die. Essentially, it's like modernized gladiators, but not the fun American gladiators, or it wasn't called American Gladiators in England. Wherever you were, the muscle guys that used to shirt Nerf guns at people. That was a fun show.
I still do that every other Saturday.
So The Running Man, I don't. Have you seen it, Glenn?
Is it? There's a scene in it where a guy's helmet. They're on Mars or something, right?
No, that is Total Recall, the one that he's on Mars.
Fuck.
There
was a scene where a dude took his helmet off and his fucking head exploded.
That's Total Recall.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I have seen Running Man. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
though.
So Running Man is just like a game show where they make criminals run through this gauntlet, and then they have these people killing them, and it's like the people who are killing them have an unfair advantage and everything. It's filled with terrible one-liners, terribly great one-liners from Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's Arnold's playground right there.
Yeah, so it's just a fun movie. It's got the old host of Family Feud in it. I want to say his name is Richard Dawkins. I'm going to correct myself here if it's not, but
you're telling me it wasn't Steve Harvey in there?
No, it wasn't Steve Harvey in there. It was the guy who used to kiss everyone and made everyone super uncomfortable.
Sorry.
But granted, if he did that today, it'd make everyone uncomfortable. I think people actually liked it back then. But anyway, talking too much about Running Man. Then with my Ingmar Bergman collection, I watched The Magician. It is a movie directed by Ingmar Bergman, of course, which involves a magician, as the name suggests.
Whoa.
And so he seems to have this running theme of like performers being prosecuted and censored and everything. Because this is about a magician who goes to a town, and then the town's officials like hold them captive and force them to perform a show to make sure that it's okay for their townspeople to see.
Dance, monkey, dance!
Essentially, that's essentially what this is. And it's an interesting movie, definitely weird tonally. It's apparently a comedy. It was kind of darker than I was expecting it, and I wasn't really expecting it to be a comedy. But I still really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie. It's got Max von Sydow in it, back when he was like in his 30s. But yeah, really good. Then I watched The Last Black Man in San Francisco, which we're going to get into in just a second. And then I watched a movie that, of course, on that podcast, Films to be Buried with Brett Goldstein, has been mentioned a lot because it's a movie that Brett Goldstein wrote and starred in called Super Bob.
Super Bob. I did just see on Letterboxd that you did see that. I was like, what the fuck is a Super Bob?
So it's like this comedy that is part documentary, part not documentary. It's about this guy who gets superpowers and becomes like property of the government and everything, and all he wants to do is go on a date. And the government keeps like getting in his way and everything. It's actually very interesting and poses the questions of like, if there were superheroes, would it be moral for the government to control their lives, not regulate what they do, but control their lives?
It's like a Boys and Truman Show mix without all the blood.
Yeah, essentially. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. That's a nice, fun 82 minutes. It's a nice short movie too. Really enjoy that. Brett, for those of you who don't know, Brett Goldstein plays Roy Kent on Ted Lasso. He also has a fantastic podcast called Films to be Buried with Brett Goldstein. And he's in this movie Super Bob, which was pretty good. But that's all I watched. So without any further ado, let's get into The Last Black Man in San Francisco.
always come back to the old house. What if it's empty? What if we just peeked inside?
We could throw parties. You could put on one of your plays. We could yell.
Where is this house?
Our old house.
That's not your old house, and that's not your neighborhood.
Hey, if you're going to San Francisco, be sure to wear flowers in your hair.
Maybe he's right. What if we shouldn't be here?
Well, we should be here more. Some millionaire.
To leave is not your loss. It's San Francisco.
I don't know how much longer we can keep doing this. But I'm not leaving. I'm the last one left. I'm with you, brother.
A young man searches for home in the changing city that seems to have left him behind. Directed by Joe Talbot, written by Jimmy Fails, Joe Talbot, Rob Richert, starring Jimmy Fails, Jonathan Majors, Rob Morgan, Tachina Arnold. I'm sorry, I forgot, didn't check how to pronounce that. Mike Epps is in there, Finn Whitrock, Danny Glover, Jamal Truelove, Antoine Reedus, and many others. This, of course, is an A24 film. We all know how I feel about A24.
Yeah.
Glenn also feels that way to a lesser extent. He doesn't have A24 t-shirts.
It's like whenever we warn you guys about the Marvel movies.
Yes, but the opposite. Though A24 equally made my favorite movie and my least favorite movie, so I'm not like blindly in love with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, this came out in 2019 when Glenn was in Virginia, so we didn't get to see it together. Mm-hmm. And I went to Philly to see it, and I absolutely, positively loved it. Maybe, I don't know.
Possibly.
Let's find out. But yeah, it's a really interesting film in which it's kind of like a story about gentrification, but told in like it's told like an adventure movie kind of.
Yeah.
Where like everything they do feels kind of heroic in a way. It sounds really weird putting it that way because they're grown men, but they're also kind of childish at heart.
Yeah.
So it's just this really interesting blend of you know the serious issue that is gentrification, but mixed with a coming of age tale, but told through the eyes of grown men. Which, when you put it that way, sounds absolutely crazy.
That is the best way to describe it, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
But at its core, it's just this beautiful movie about, like, having mixed feelings about the place you come from.
Yep.
And I know that there's a line in the end of this, of course we said spoilers, where he overhears people shit-talking San Francisco, and he asks them, do you love San Francisco? And they like say yes, but you could tell that they don't really love it. And he was like, you can't hate it unless you love it.
Yeah, they're like, I'm here, so I guess I kind of love it.
Yeah.
And he's like,
so
yeah.
So it's just a you know, obviously Jimmy Fails and Joe Talbot, and I'm sure many others involved with this are from San Francisco. So it's like it's just a beautiful, you know, homage to the city that they come from, and all of its greatness and its flaws too. And I thought it was just such an interesting film. It's got one of the best soundtracks. The soundtrack in this is probably my top 10 soundtracks of all time, personally speaking.
Now I saw that Joe Talbot was like actually a musician. Did he do the soundtrack for this? I didn't actually check when the credits were rolling.
I didn't know he was a musician, but that makes a lot of sense because there's a lot of cameos from musicians. Like the one of the former lead singers of Dead Kennedys plays the guy that's on the Segway. He's the tour guide on the Segway. So that makes a lot of sense that he would like be a musician. The score in this is by Emile Mosseri.
If I'm wrong about that, I feel super bad for misleading you. So let me go ahead and check that.
Oh, if he is a musician.
Yeah.
But the composer also did Minari, a film called Kajillionaire, which is also underrated in my opinion. not too much else other than those 3 movies, but he's got a good career, and this soundtrack is absolutely beautiful. It's such a good addition to this film, that adds to that adventure element that I was talking about before, where these seemingly I'm going to use a word and maybe use it wrong. Innocuous?
Are you going to do what I do?
No, not innocuous is not what I meant. But anyway, these seemingly like benign.
So I'm laughing at what you just said, and then I'm laughing at how I thought he was a musician.
Oh, okay. But these seemingly benign shots of just like people standing at street corners and them skateboarding through San Francisco, but adding the score that makes it seem like they're doing something heroic, like they're going to save the town somehow.
Yeah.
So it's just a fantastic score.
Mm-hmm. So to track back, he was not a musician. I apologize for that. I'm an ass.
How dare you?
But let me tell you how I read musician with my ADD brain. Joe Talbot is a 5th-generation San Franciscan. The way Franciscan is spelled, Jesus Christ. Franciscan. The musician, Franciscan Glen brain melts
San
slowly.
Franciscan.
It's the CISKAN. I know that's not how you spell musician. I'm saying my brain took a fart.
Yeah, if you're reading it quickly, I could see that.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, thanks for lying to me. But it is true that the former lead singer of Dead Kennedys is in this. At least according to IMDb. I don't know enough about the Dead Kennedys.
At least we
to know
had a
that's
segue
true.
there. No big deal.
Yes. I see what you did there. But Glenn, you hadn't seen this before. You
That's true.
Had put it on your list of movies to watch every single time you house sat for me.
Yep.
And never once watched it. So what were your thoughts while watching this?
Yeah, whenever I go to Mike's house, I do this little thing where before he even leaves, I look at all of his DVDs on his wall, and I just slowly pick them. I don't like take them out all the way on the shelf, but I slowly like inch them out off the shelf a little bit. I'm like, I want to see that. I want to see that. I want to see that. This one, for the last 4 running years at least, I guess not. Yeah, no, 4 has been on that little inch out shelf. I hadn't at least remembered. I don't know if I saw many trailers when it first released, but I hadn't remembered any trailers. So I completely forgot what my expectations were for this. So kind of they were just none. I had forgotten Jonathan Majors was in this. Was this one of his first like leading roles?
He is in a movie called Captive State, which came out before this, but that was more of a support. It was a big supporting role, but a supporting role nonetheless.
Yeah.
He's in another movie called Out of the Blue, which I haven't seen, and White Boy Rick.
Why does White Boy Rick sound familiar?
It's the movie with Matthew McConaughey, and there's that like teenage kid that sells cocaine or whatever.
Okay.
It's an okay movie.
So,
but this is like his first major role.
I think between this and Lovecraft, maybe. I think those or Lovecraft Country were his like Lovecraft. I think was the breakout role for him.
Yeah, this is too small to really be like the big breakout, but
yeah. So this was like a breakout, and he was kind of like just from the poster. He kind of. Although he was like in the background of the poster, he was kind of like you kind of saw that he might have been at least going to be pretty big just from it. But yeah, back to me and my expectations, they were pretty much bar none. And going into this, I think the thing that really, besides the Jimmy Fails and Jonathan Majors, I think the thing that captivated me the most was the cinematography.
Yeah,
and just. Right at the beginning, it's like this movie was meant for a wide screen, so get ready for that.
Yeah.
And then immediately you're shown all these like wide shots. Even if it's in like tight spaces, it's wide enough to make it feel like the area that they're in is bigger than it actually is. Which is really cool. There's so many great shots of San Francisco. Mike, I don't know if you know this, but I fucking love San Francisco. At least how it looks. Yeah. I probably never want to actually live there, but I love. Seeing all the houses and all that, the roads.
Yeah. It's got great architecture, for sure. I definitely would not want to live there. Like I love Philly and don't even want to live there, even though it's very close to me. I'm not a city person. I'm like a close enough to the city where it doesn't take long to get there, but far enough where I don't have to deal with the traffic all the time. Yeah, the suburbs.
Just on the outskirts.
Yeah. But not like the stupid suburbs where it's just like winding.
Oh yeah.
Winding houses. I like town centers, but smaller towns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like I think the cinematography alone was just super captivating,
especially in the slow motion scenes.
Especially in the slow motions, especially when they were showing like big like scenery shots of like the ocean right outside of where Mont lives, and so when he's like on that dock on the boat, I thought that was sick. Basically, that preacher guy's point of view to where they're sitting on the rocks, I thought that's an excellent shot. There's just so many really good shots, and just it just shows. Obviously, the cinematography, you fucking dumbass, but it just shows. Like the eye for it, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But the next captivating thing was Jimmy and Mont's relationship and like how simpatico they are, just how close, no matter like how their lifestyle is just like they're just best friends.
Yeah.
Like they've got each other's backs, no matter what the situation. And the situation does get a little, it's not a great idea what they're doing, but it's really cool that they had each other's backs for it. And we're like, it is a fucking great idea. It's probably not, but it's fucking great.
Yeah. Yeah. In my opinion, this is Jonathan Major's best role.
Yeah.
Not that he's had that many, but like, it's just such like a tender and beautiful character, the character of Mont.
I think the best part about it is that it's not a blockbuster role. So it feels like it's an authentic role that he's giving.
Yeah, and I think it's just, I am always disappointed, not for their life or their career or anything, but for me personally, when a independent film actor goes to like the Marvel or Star Wars route.
Yeah.
Because then like it never feels like their career's the same as it was before. I'm happy for them and their success and everything. But it was a little disappointing when he went the Marvel route. But the character of Mont is just such a beautiful character. They show his tender side when they're waiting for the bus in the very beginning, and Jimmy's getting antsy, and he's kind of like the calming voice where it's just like, it's going to be okay. The bus is going to be here. We're going to be fine.
Yep.
We're going to be on time. But he's also there to support. So like when Jimmy does want to start skating away, he just hops on the skateboard with him and helps him. And then, his father, played by Danny Glover, is blind, and he just, they are watching the movie, and he's describing what's happening in the movie to him. Yeah. And like, where I feel like if that might annoy some people, you could tell he legitimately enjoys doing that with his father. And
grandfather,
and it's just, is that his grandfather? I thought it was his father.
I'm pretty sure it's his grandfather.
Well, either way, a patriarch in his family. And it's just such a beautiful and quick way of showing, just how good of a person he is in this movie. And then contrasting that with like they're definitely like a comedic element, but like the I don't know how to describe. They're not gangsters. They're not thugs. They're just the guys standing on the corner shit talking each other.
Yeah.
So I don't know what word to use to call them, but they're like this group of guys that are just shit talking each other, and they're like
loiterers.
Loiterers. That's a great one. They are technically loitering.
Yeah.
But they are like the embodiment of toxic masculinity, essentially.
They're just the fucking the king of the hill guys sitting by the fence. That's literally what they are, without the beers.
Yeah, and maybe a little more energetic, but
yeah.
And then you just see him like talking, and he never, even when they're like shit talking him, he never gets like upset with them or anything. It's just he's how I personally wish I could be. But just being able to ignore people shit talking me, but I got my Irish rage in me.
Hey, same here. My favorite line from especially after those guys were like kind of shit talking them a little bit. My favorite line is so Mont, they're back at this. We didn't really say the plot too much, but they're back at their place, and Mont's like drawing the guys who were just shit talking, and Jimmy goes, "Really? You drawing those guys?" And Mont just goes, "What the fuck was it? It's like just because they were rude to me doesn't mean I can't appreciate them."
Yeah,
it's like that is such like a great. I can't do that. I'm too much of a piece of shit.
Yeah,
somebody does one wrong thing to me, I'm like, oh, well, fuck you.
Yeah.
But like that, I wish I could be like just open minded like that and just like let go of things that easily.
Yeah,
and he's sorry. Go ahead.
No, you were.
Oh, I'm gonna go then. He's such a great character, and I wish the only flaw that I have with him is that he's not on the screen more.
Yes.
And that's not even a bad thing. This movie's 2 hours long. I could have took another 15 extra minutes of just like Mont and Jimmy hanging out. Like that's how great they were together, or just Mont.
Yeah.
But like there is like a part where like Mont is kind of like free from Jimmy's side, and like that was a great little like part of the movie because you could see that specific scene is that even when he's not by Jimmy's side, he's got his back and he's trying to figure out like the bottom of whatever the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
And dude's an absolute G, man.
Yeah, definitely. And again, we still are dancing around the plot where the plot is Jimmy is obsessed with this house that his family used to live in. He's told growing up that his grandfather built it with his bare hands and everything. Even though like the timeline doesn't make sense because like history shows that this was built in the 1840s, not the 1940s or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever the exact timeline is.
It was 100 years before he was actually told when
so I think
they
it's
built
1840s, 1940s, something like that. And it's a beautiful house. You know, when there's this old white couple living there, he fixes it up much to their chagrin.
Yeah.
They get upset with it. Well, the wife gets upset. The husband's
just like, this is weird, but it's fine.
Yeah, they're like, hey, this is kind of weird, but I guess you're doing good things. And then you know, when they find out that Mont, the character Mont, finds out that his grandfather didn't build it, and you know, saw that it was actually built in the 1840s. And it's shortly after everything's falling apart. You know, like they're gonna lose even having any access to the house at all. One of those loiterers was shot and killed. Everything's falling apart.
So everything at the same time just goes down.
Yeah, Mont throws this play that they hold within that house that they're squatting in after the elderly couple moves out. They're not even that old. They're probably in their 60s.
They're like 50s.
Yeah, late middle-aged. Late middle-aged. But it's, you know, he throws his play. And that's what I love about this is that through line, mentioning when he says, you know, I can still appreciate them even though they're mean, is Jimmy Fails kind of wraps that up perfectly during that play. They're talking about the guy who was killed and the last, you know, they were used to be friends with that guy and kind of started to rekindle that friendship. But then the last time they saw him had a falling out. And Mont during the play asks Jimmy how he feels about that guy, and he kind of like breaks it down. He's like, well, you know, the last thing he said to me was kind of messed up, but you know, he was overall a good guy. And then he says, people aren't all one thing. And that's the through line for everything. People, cities, whatever you love isn't always just 100% good. There are bad things with good things. And it's not a message that's like shoved in your face. It's like a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing, or you know, not listen and you'll miss it. And it's such a beautiful message hidden behind this very stylized film that is just, you know, it's a coming of age adventure with grown adults
with 30-year-old men
that's about gentrification. So it's just a very weird and unique film, but it works on every level in my opinion. And I love it. It's got great comedy in it where, you know, Jimmy Fails is talking to one of the neighbors when they move into the house. And he says, I'm going to be the best neighbor you've ever had. And then after he leaves, the neighbor's just like, what the fuck was that all about? So it's got moments where it realizes how ridiculous it is and points that out, but that's also just saying that that's just kind of what San Francisco is. At least that's what the film says. I've never been to San Francisco, so I can only go off of the rumors and the God, what's the word? Not representation. Fuck. Whatever. The rumors.
Whatever.
The whatever. But yeah, it's so great.
It's a great way to tackle a topic like that too.
Like gentrification?
Like gentrification, yeah. Because, like, I mean, it's happening more and more everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, it's happening in Coatesville right now.
It's happening in literally every single town. Like,
it's happening in Phoenixville. It's like happening all around us, and it's kind of crazy. And
not only does gentrification push out lower income families, but it also replaces beautiful architecture with the ugliest shipping container architecture. I fucking hate modern architecture
Starbucks,
so much.
Target, bring it, baby, let's go.
Yeah. So it's definitely happening even in like the suburbs and let alone the big cities, and it's just disgusting. Honestly, other than like the class issue and the race issue of gentrification, people should be offended at how horrible the architecture of gentrification is, because it's hideous. It takes away all culture and all personality that a city has. I absolutely hate everything about it.
Like I think I forget what the lines exactly were in the beginning, but like that preacher dude. I don't even know what to call him. I don't think he was a preacher. But
no, he was a preacher. He was a street preacher. Yeah.
But like,
at least according to the cast.
Right in the beginning, he was boasting. He's like, we got these classic homes out here on one side of the street, and on the other there's these box houses or some shit like that. And I mean, even looking at it, like they are run down, but they are like amazing looking houses. And then you've got the most copy paste Karen houses you could ever ask for.
Yeah, definitely.
And but I mean, at the end of it, like this was a great movie to tackle. Like they did it lightheartedly. Like they were like, it was a big point, but like they did it lightheartedly, and they did jokes about it and like didn't make it in your face. You know, they didn't like shove it in there.
On top of that, they didn't hide the fact that there's a lot of homeless people in San Francisco, but they showed that they're people. Yeah. Pretty much any homeless person that they showed was shown that they're talented. Like they have that one,
the fucking opera singer dude,
the opera singer. I think the other guy was just a busker, the guy who sings the San Francisco song.
I think in Mont's play, I think those homeless guys were actually singing for the play.
Yeah,
at least one of them, I think.
Those guys are either homeless or buskers, but like, the definite homeless people that they showed are given some kind of personality and not just like, look at these people. They're like,
look at this homeless guy.
These are people with lives. They're just on hard times. They have lives. They have personalities. They're not just these blank faces. Yeah, and that's part of every city. Every city has a homeless people problem because cities are fucking expensive, and so many people just like look past them. Even me personally, I've looked past them just because, if I paid attention to every homeless person, I'd end up giving like $100 a day every time I passed one.
And why don't you bastard?
Because I can't afford
it. I mean, yeah, it's not easy.
Yes.
But it happens.
Yeah. But it's just a fantastic film. I could continue talking about this. I still have so many notes I didn't even touch on, but it'd be all over the place if I mentioned them. So the last thing I'll say, great film overall, great tone, great blend of humor and drama. But the most impressive thing is that the woman who plays Jimmy's mom is not related to Jimmy Fails at all.
They look so similar.
It's so great, the casting. They look so similar. Well, they could be distantly related, but I couldn't find anything that suggested they were related. And it's just great casting. She looks so much like him, and vice versa. I was very impressed with that casting.
I'm just... holy shit, I didn't even realize that was the guy. So I'm reading one of the trivias right now, and the guy who sings the song, the San Francisco song,
Yeah.
he's actually the guy who sings "I Got 5 on It."
Yeah, I saw that too.
That's
and
hilarious.
he sings it afterwards.
It's so funny.
I love that scene
he's
because
like, "What
Jonathan
else you
Major's
got?"
reaction is so legitimate. Like
Yeah.
that wasn't scripted. You could tell that wasn't scripted because the guy like apologizes after saying one sentence, and Jonathan Major's like, "No, no, no! I gotta hear you sing this in person. Go!" Yeah, it's
He's
a great.
just like, "What else you got?" And then boom, I got 5 on it. It's so funny.
And then what the very last thing I say, and I promise this is the last thing, is that during the play when he's reading the tweets about the people that tweeted about Kofi, the man who died.
Yeah.
I love that because it was kind of true, where it's just like the people who abandoned a situation always speak the loudest and act like it affected them the most. And kind of the whole fakeness that social media makes people, makes people act like they were more connected to someone or an event than they actually
or even
are.
act like they're showing they cared in any sort of way.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh, just here's my prayers and thoughts. I miss him so much. It doesn't mean shit unless you carry it with you,
Yeah,
in
exactly.
person, obviously.
And then I love how he followed that up with asking the people there how they felt about them.
Yeah, put them on
And-
the spot and made them actually like think,
Yeah,
how
and-
did you feel?
Yeah, and the one woman that sticks with me is that one woman who's just kind of like shy. She's just like, he was just nice. Like not
Yeah.
singing praises about him, just like how any stranger or like an acquaintance would say. It's like he was
Yeah,
nice.
she
It's
probably
just,
saw him like every once in a while, but they never really had
But
any.
it wasn't fake. It was very
Yeah.
real. Like how she responded. It was like it just kind of makes me sad. Like she's
it
not.
was
She's
very
not.
sad.
Her life's not ending because he's dead, but it is a very sad thing.
Yeah.
And it's just it's such a, I don't know. I love the community of this movie. It's just such a great community, and
Yeah,
I love it.
It's fantastic in every aspect.
Yes.
You could probably find flaws if you cared enough.
Yeah, every movie has flaws.
It's hard to find them, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mike Epps with his little short stint was funny. Because he's this guy in a car, and
He stole the car from Jimmy.
He
too,
stole the
didn't
car from Jimmy, or his dad at least, and they don't even show who's in the car at first, but you hear his voice. I'm like, that's got to be Mike Epps.
That's Mike Epps,
there's nobody else that I could picture right now. And of course they do a shot with him in the car. I'm like, yep, there he is. It's my boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie in every sense.
I'm so glad you liked it.
And I wish I watched this either, obviously, in 2019 when you saw it in Philly. I wish I watched it with you, or I wish I watched it at your house, because it does not hit the same from like not having all that equipment or anything, or a bigger screen or anything.
This was the first time I watched it in my with surround sound since theaters. I obviously saw it in theaters with surround sound, and it the surround sound in it is great. Like it's just such a great mix.
Yeah, it's a fantastic film, and I regret not just watching it with you at all. How dare we go through a breakup? I should have watched it with you. You bastard!
But that's all I got to say.
I think so too.
Yeah. So that does it for our review for The Last Black Man in San Francisco. That brings us to the judgment. As always, it needs to be unanimous decision whether or not it goes to the KFR shelf for the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. This was my movie this week, so I'm going to go first. I think it's very clear that this is a no for me.
It's got to be. It's right in the trash can.
Sorry, it's not a no for me.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
not
yes.
in the trash can is what I said.
Yes, it goes on the shelf. I absolutely love this movie. Honestly, this time, really sitting down and trying to dissect it, I probably appreciated it more than the first few times I watched it.
Yeah.
So it's a movie that keeps on giving. Like the more you watch it, the more you see. And yeah, it absolutely goes on the shelf for me personally.
I would say the same. It was a fantastic first watch, and Jonathan Majors was just so fucking good. So was Jimmy Fails too.
Yeah.
Not enough credit for him, from what I've been hearing.
Rob Morgan, who is barely in it, he plays Jimmy Fallon's dad. He's great in like the 2 scenes he has.
Oh yeah.
It's such a great ensemble cast. Finn Wittrock is like the best kind of asshole.
Yeah.
That you want in that kind of role. And I love Finn Wittrock, so it takes a lot for me to dislike him, and I disliked him in this. In like,
even though he was being a bad good guy. Yes. He was kind of like an anti-hero in a way.
Yes, where he was like, hey, I'm on your side.
I'm on your side, but you gotta not do that.
Yeah. So, yes, Last Black Man in San Francisco goes onto the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. That brings us to our assignment for next week. Glenn, what you got for us?
So, remember that movie I was talking about earlier that I only halfway finished?
Yes.
I want to watch that with you. Not only I want to talk about a Schwarzenegger movie, because I feel like it's been a little bit of a minute, but also because I think it's an interesting enough talk about that I think it would make for a good episode.
Okay.
So, we're going to go ahead and go over to Arnold Schwarzenegger's End of Days, which will be on Netflix and Tubi with ads.
December 31st, 1999. The end of a century. The end of a millennium. The beginning of the end.
He's coming for you, Christine. Can you see him?
Who are you? How do you know my name?
He's gonna find you, Christine.
Forgive us!
Let her go.
How can you expect to defeat me when I am forever and you are just a man?
At the end of the century, Satan visits New York in search of a bride. It's up to an ex-cop who now runs an elite security outfit to stop him.
Now do it without laughing.
I can't. It's such a fucking hilarious synopsis. I never read the synopsis until now.
Got Gabriel Byrne. I don't know Gabriel Byrne was in there.
Yes, it's directed by Peter Hyams. L'Chaim, yeah. Written by Andrew W. Marlowe. Stars Andrew, I almost said Garfield. Andrew Schwarzenegger, Gabriel
Why are you
Byrne.
calling him Andrew Schwarzenegger?
No, I did not. I said Arnold. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Gabriel Byrne, Robin Tooney, Kevin Pollak, CCH Pounder.
Yes.
That's a name.
Yeah.
Derek O'Connor, David Weisenberg, Rainer Jude, and there's just so many more in there.
Yeah. Miriam Margolis.
I was just about
Udo
to say that
Kier,
one.
Mark Margolis, Rod Steiger.
Oh, yeah, Rod
tell me
Steiger's
Rod
in there.
Steiger's in this? Oh, yes, please.
So yeah, I think this will be an interesting talk about. And also, I just wanted to see an Arnold movie with you, not an Andrew Garfield movie. I'm sorry.
What about an Andrew Schwarzenegger movie?
Now that is some lovemaking I would love to see.
And where can we find this again? Sorry.
That will be on both Netflix, if you have that subscription, and if you don't, it's on Tubi with ads. So there you go.
Cool. So, Arnold Schwarzenegger in End of Days. That is our assignment for next week. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. As always, you can check out our website at www.keystonefilmreview.com. On Instagram, we're Keystone_film_review. TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube, Keystone Film Review. And on Letterboxd, I am Mike, KFR.
And I'm Glen, KFR.
And that will do it until next week when we watch End of Days. Put the cookie down.
Give me the cookie.
It's not a tumor. You're going to hear a lot of that next week. I'm apologizing in advance. Goodbye, everybody.
Devil! Ew!
Satan!
Did you say Hail Satan?
I did. No, I said, Satan. But it came off as Hail Satan. I didn't say Hail Satan.
I believe you. I do. Hail Satan.
Goodbye, everybody.